Welcome to the Golden Nuggets. This podcast is brought to you by WordPress. Ever wonder why some websites always pop up first? That's SEO magic at work. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. And if your website isn't up there, you're missing out big time. Here's the deal. Every day your website stays hidden is the day your competitors grab your customers. It's not just about being online, it's about being seen. At WordPress, we turn your website from invisible to irresistible. Simple, effective SEO that gets you noticed, gets you customers, and gets you ahead. Don't let your website be the internet's best kept secret. Make it a customer magnet. Ready to be found? Visit wordpress.com/search. Let's make your website the star of the show this year. Don't miss out.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Golden Nuggets podcast. Hanafi here with my co-host Ame, and with us today we have a vocal coach from the Vocal Alchemy. His name is Joel Loh.
Nice to meet all of you.
Yo, Joel. So, how have you been, man?
Well, been really busy for the past 2 months.
Oh, busy is good.
So as you know, I just incorporated Vocal Alchemy. It's something that I'm focusing on this year. I really want to promote voice and communication and helping Singaporeans to be more free in expression in how they communicate and more effective in communication as well. Yeah.
Okay. Why do you have that particular thinking about Singaporeans as a whole? Why? Okay, so for me personally, I feel that Singaporeans are not that expressive in their feelings. But when I see like an Ang Moh person talking, right, they can really like story tell even the simplest experience. Like, I don't know.
They can make it sound so wonderful.
And it's super engaging.
Like why is it for us Singaporeans we have that
barrier?
Yeah.
Wow, I think there's a few reasons. Yeah, for me, at least from my perspective, I think one of the key reasons is about our upbringing, our education system. A lot of times we are told to keep quiet, to shut up in classrooms, right? I remember when I was in primary school, I used to be very talkative growing up. And I remember that there was this incident when I was in P4. I was just happily chatting with my friend about, how my day was, what we did, what I did. And then the next thing I knew, my teacher asked me to step out of the class. And then she said that if you don't keep quiet, something, there'll be consequences. And the next thing I knew was that she slapped me on my face.
Oh, wow. Okay. This was back then when
Kids.
corporal punishment was still a thing.
Kids, you don't get that now anymore.
But I mean, I guess even in kids now, in school nowadays, when I used to go to school to teach, I would observe the teacher telling the students to keep quiet. And I think as a kid growing up, if you keep facing such experiences, where adults tell you to shut up, keep quiet, you would keep everything within yourself. You wouldn't dare to express because you are conditioned not to express.
In fact, they are conditioned to react different way. They don't use keep quiet anymore.
Oh, what do they say?
All eyes on me.
All eyes on me. What was that? Silent clap. What?
They don't say like be quiet. They don't shout anymore.
Sometimes under extreme conditions, you will still see that. But as a teacher myself, I understand that having to control a class of 30, 40 students is not easy. And you need to in order to teach effectively, sometimes you need their attention.
Yes.
But I think it's always a give and take. If we keep telling our children to keep quiet and not allow them to express fully, and then they will grow up to be adults that, keep everything within themselves. They don't allow themselves to feel. And for me, that's one of the things that I observe in Singaporeans. And even and also as we grow up as adults, as we keep everything inside of us, we just shut them up like in a bottle. And then we lose touch with that emotional connection within us.
Yeah. All right. So, can you share with us what were you doing before you start Vocal Alchemy?
Well, actually, I'm an actor.
Oh, okay.
And a stage performer as well. Yeah, so I'm trained in musical theatre.
I see.
I've done like stage theatre shows. I was in LKY the musical in 2022.
So you can
Yeah.
sing.
Yes, I can sing. And for me, singing is still one of my passion. Music is something that I really resonate with. It was something that allowed me to connect my own emotions growing up, and that allowed me to to survive those growing up years.
Okay. You were in drama when you were in school.
Actually, no, I was in choir.
Choir.
Yeah, I was in choir, and believe it or not, I couldn't sing growing up. When I auditioned for choir, I couldn't even pitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but because they needed people, then I just got in lah.
Okay. So, can someone who can't sing eventually practice to be able to sing?
I would say yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. If you start younger, it would. I mean, definitely that helps a lot. A lot of people think that they are tone deaf. Actually, they are not.
Okay.
They are just not exposed to music or to the pitch. Yeah. So what they think they hear, they are not able to produce it vocally. Yeah. But it's just all about exposure, learning, and then slowly picking things up.
Okay.
Yeah. So singing is a skill.
You mentioned when you are younger, it's easier. But if you are like in your 30s, is it still possible?
Still possible.
Still possible.
If you come and find me, it's still possible.
I cannot sing, then how? I just look for you.
Look for me. Look for me.
Okay. Yeah. So before Vocal Alchemy, you were doing theatre and you were also performing. And what about before that? What were you studying when you were in school back then?
So wow, I've always wanted to be a performer, a singer growing up. When it came to my university days, I wanted to study music and singing. But my parents, being very traditional Asian parents, they say, no, you can't do music. You can never make a living out of this. You need to get a proper degree. So the next best thing I did was to do psychology because I've always been interested in human nature, how we behave, how we think, how we react. Yeah, so I did NTU. I went to NTU to do psychology.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a 4 years degree. I was doing a lot of research back then. But what I realized when I was studying psychology was that the more I studied about the human behavior and the human condition, the less I knew about human beings.
Oh, why? Why is that?
Because in psychology, there are so many theories.
Yes.
And like for a single phenomena about emotions, how we feel, there are 3 or 4 different theories about that. That's because no one actually knows exactly what is going on.
Yeah, that's why it's theories.
Yeah, so there are theories, and I mean they do research on it, and those are hypotheses that they try to show some evidence and proof. But exactly what makes us think, what makes us feel, it's actually still unknown.
I guess that's what really makes us human.
Yes, you are right.
And we're extremely complex being, right? So I wanted to ask you this.
Yes.
Since you said you study psychology and you are a vocal coach, so you also teach communication and so on. So do you also teach NLP?
Oh, I don't teach NLP.
Okay.
I've attended a bit of NLP courses, but when NLP deals with languaging,
Yes.
and language is important. There are psychological studies that show that our language affects the way we think, affects the way we feel. Yeah. So I think language, knowing the words, using the right words is important. But at the same time, also sometimes words are just labels.
Yep.
Right. Once we identify those labels, the next thing is to break out of them. Yeah, I mean labels are useful, but only to a certain extent. If we are so fixated on a certain label, and then that doesn't help us to grow or to explore other possibilities of what we might be feeling or what we might be experiencing. Yeah.
Okay. Since you study psychology, do you incorporate this into how you conduct your lesson and your coaching nowadays?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of how we communicate and how we use our voice has to do with our own psychology, how we feel about ourselves, how we think about ourselves, how we think about others. Yeah, so a lot of times before I commence my coaching sessions, the first session is always focused on understanding the client, what are their issues and what is hindering them, and helping them to process some of their past experiences that might be affecting them right now, that's blocking them from expressing themselves, from even like hitting certain notes. I remember that I was teaching singing online during COVID period.
Okay.
And I had this, I think she was about 50 years old, lady, student, and she was learning singing. And for the longest time, she struggled with high notes. She
Okay.
couldn't hit high notes. And then, as I was going through the vocal exercises with her, and then suddenly in one of the lessons, she told me that, oh, my throat is tightening up. And I was saying, okay, what does this remind you of, past experiences? Then she said, oh, it reminded me of the time when I had asthma as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah. So our body has memories, right? Sometimes this physical reaction that the body is experiencing, it might be asthma at that moment in time, but it might be due to past experiences. So I went through a bit of coaching with her, telling her to connect with her body and to remind her body that, right now she has, she's 50 years old, she doesn't have asthma anymore, and allowing her body to calm down. And after going through that and helping her with other vocal exercises, she was able to, she felt that her throat opened up and then she was able to hit those high notes already. So what she was struggling for so many years in her life, the moment she was able to pinpoint what was happening to the body and we addressed it, she was able to unlock her voice.
I see. Okay. So, sorry, I got a bit of a brain block. Okay, so I wanted to ask you about this particular client of yours, right? When you mentioned that previously she had asthma and all this, I'm actually curious, like, do all your clients like maybe share with you their past traumatizing experiences, or are there anyone who tell you like, I'm just here for vocal coaching, I don't want to talk about my past experiences?
Yeah, I mean both. I mean, different clients come to me for different purpose. Some, if they just want to sing for karaoke, then I just teach them singing, and it's all fun. They enjoy it. That's great. But most of my clients, they tend to come to me because they want a breakthrough in their life. They want a transformation in their voice. Be it through their self-expression, be it through singing in a different way or speaking in a different manner. And for that, there are usually certain blockages or certain obstacles that's hindering them, psychological obstacles that needs to be addressed. So it really depends on how open the client is. Most of the time, I try to keep the space as safe as possible. And if they're open to share, definitely I'm open to process it with them. And if they feel like, oh, that's something that they don't wish to revisit anymore, that's fine as well. Because ultimately for me, it's always client first, what they need at that point in time and how can I help them with their transformation.
Oh, this is like therapy, man.
It is. So, combining my psychology experience, putting everything together in what I do right now.
Yeah. All right. Before you start like acting and also being in theatre, was there a period of time where you actually think like, hey, I think this is something I may not want to do? And like, if let's say you want to pursue that, you may think like, maybe my parents is right, this may not be a career for me. Have you ever had that thought in mind before you even started pursuing that career?
Wow.
Very deep question.
Yeah. I think back in 2012, when I first after I graduated from NTU, at least I knew at that point in time I needed to pursue something different.
Okay.
Because like I mentioned earlier on, the more I studied about life in psychology, the less I knew about life. But then at that point in time, Wicked came to Singapore. So I went to watch at MBS. And I was just amazed by these performances. Performers, they were on stage performing and they had so much emotion and so much life and character in them that you really believe in them. And I was like, wow, what is it about them that draws me to them? Yeah, so that actually kind of like propelled me to, okay, I want to study musical theatre. I want to see, how can I have what they have? How can I embody what they have? Even if it's as characters or as people, how do I experience, the life that I've seen on stage being performed right in front of me?
Was that your first exposure to musical theatre?
In a way, yes. It was the first musical stage show I've watched.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Live stage.
Yeah,
Like-
live
like
stage
before
show.
that you have not
no,
watched anything?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
I mean, thinking back, it's kind of I mean, wow, like how is this possible, right?
You're probably wondering like, what in the name of witchcraft is this?
Yeah.
And then you got so amazed.
Yeah. But as a kid, I always knew like I love singing and acting and moving or dancing. For me, the three of them felt like the same thing together. Yeah.
Just having fun.
Just having fun. Yeah. It's just how we move our body, how we express ourselves. We don't think so much and we just let it flow through us. Yeah. I mean, and then after I knew, there's this thing called musical theatre.
Yeah.
But to me, it's all in one. It's all the same. It's just the expression, the communication, that comes together in full embodiment of your body, your breath, your voice, your emotions, everything.
I remember clearly back then when Wicked came to Singapore, I think a few months before that, Les Mis was on theatres. I mean,
At Esplanade, I think.
no.
Or is it MBS?
No, it's the film.
Oh,
the one with
okay.
who's that Wolverine guy?
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, yeah.
Hugh
Hugh Jackman acted in Les Mis.
Yeah.
Did you watch that before that?
I did watch that.
Okay.
But I think watching a film or version versus a live stage version is very different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that means when you watched Les Mis back then, you never thought that Les Mis was actually this film was an adaptation from the Broadway show
I
itself.
mean, I knew it was from a musical,
Okay.
but the impact of watching a film version versus a live performance, you don't get that connection, that feeling. Yeah.
Like just like before the podcast, I was mentioning about energy, right?
Yeah.
It's like when you go to the musical, you can totally feel that energy.
Correct.
Right.
The moment the light just dim and then the music, start playing, the whole atmosphere changes. It's magic. It's magical.
Yes.
Yeah. You were in theatre in Singapore, right? Do you think we have what it takes to
You can ask me this question. If you ask me this question, this time no one wants to hire me as actor already. can ask.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious because there's not a lot of theatre pieces that I've seen in Singapore that can match what we see in Broadway. I don't know whether it's because of the story that we actually have, or maybe the performance. I'm not too sure what actually is the limitation or the challenges that that industry actually has. What do you think are the limitation and challenges that the industry actually has?
For me, the main issue I think is budget, money. Yeah. In terms of like the standard of performers, we have great performers here, right? We have even performers who grew up here in Singapore and they're now performing on West End, on Broadway.
Oh, really?
Yes, there are.
Wow, I didn't know.
You never
Okay.
knew, but yes, there are. The thing for me is budget. Singapore is expensive. Renting a theatre is expensive. You need to rent the manpower, the crew, lights, sound, everything is expensive.
All the gears, right?
Yeah, and not only that, like the time it takes to create a show, like from the first, writing of a show to devising to workshopping it can take years.
Yes.
The shows that we see on Broadway, it has taken them 2, 3, 5 years before we see what it is now. And in Singapore, we don't have that budget. I mean, I've done quite a number of theatre shows in Singapore, and a lot of times, a few of them, they're new works. We will only have 1 month, 4 weeks to rehearse every day.
And I think it's because of the cost of rental and all, right?
Cost of rental, budget issues, and everything else just accumulates, and time as well. Time is so it's like we are in a constant rush to produce something.
Hey, Singapore.
But because of that, we don't have the time to take the space to just reflect and to tweak, to adjust. Before a show goes on Broadway, there's so many adjustments that are being made. So
I think even their casting takes years, right?
maybe. It might. Yeah.
Because I remember I saw the documentary of Miss Saigon. I think it took them like about 2 years for them to finally come up with the very first original cast of Miss Saigon, and I think it took them like most likely 9 months for them to get who's that lady, Leah Salonga. Yeah, it took them like a few months to actually get this kind of cast, and
because they want to make sure that the people they cast is right for their role. So they want to cast the right people for it, and that takes time and takes money as well.
Yes, true. And I remember they still fly to Philippines to actually find find talents actually. Yeah, and all this also costs a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Singapore, yeah lah, budget lah. And I think our manpower here is also expensive, right?
It is expensive. It is expensive. I was in Bangkok last year. I actually went to watch one of their musical.
Oh, okay.
And I was blown away. Blown away by the set, blown away by the cast, blown away everything. The story was very simple. It wasn't anything out of the norm. It was based on a traditional Thai folklore. Yeah, but the way it was done, everything was. I loved it. There was so much heart. There was so much. I would say it's almost equivalent to a Broadway production in terms of production value.
I
The
see.
music, the set, the lighting, everything, and the singers, they were amazing. The singers, they were pop singers. They are well known in Thailand, and the way they sang, the whole theater was, the energy and the atmosphere was just, you could feel it. Yeah. So I don't know. It's not like we don't have it. We have it, but.
Yeah, I mean when you mention we have our Singaporeans who go to West End to actually perform. That's that's something new that I learned today, and it's very interesting because like you say, that means we have talent here.
We have talent. It's whether the culture and the society allows those talents to thrive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think one more thing that I noticed in Singapore, it's very difficult for Singapore to actually bring in a lot of these Broadway shows here.
I think they do it quite regularly, like
I think
for
now it's quite
MBS.
more regular.
Yeah, but the thing about those the cast that we see in Singapore at MBS, most of them they are not the original cast from Broadway.
Oh, yes, of course.
They're usually-
B-listers.
not really.
Not
They
that, yeah.
are usually like the touring companies, and they tend to be from Australia, from South
okay.
Africa, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you mentioned?
Yeah, I have like one last question before we end the first part. How much do theatre actors in Singapore make?
Good question.
Good question. Very, very, very good question.
Yeah.
This depends on what is your level. Are you, the A-lister? Are you the B-lister? Are you the
Okay.
C-lister?
What's the range like?
If you're the A-lister, you can earn for a show. Wow, am I allowed to say this? But anyway, it's an open secret. If you're A-lister, I think can go up to 5-digit.
Oh.
Per show.
No, not per show. No, I mean,
per-
for the entire period.
Okay.
Yeah, so usually in theater, because because it's
Over a few weeks.
a few months. So usually we go by a month or 2 months period, including rehearsal and show. You can earn up to like maybe a good 5-digit.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So that's not that bad.
Yeah, not bad at all.
But
That is if you're like a A-lister.
no, but at the same time, if you mention that, for example, it takes 4 months, rehearsal plus the performance that they have, and they only earn 20,000, that's actually not that fantastic too.
Yeah. I mean, it really depends on...
for A-lister especially, right?
I won't say much lah.
Unless you're telling me, they earn 99,900.
yeah, I mean, he said 5 figures.
Five figures, up to you to imagine how.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the higher end, you have the lower end.
All right, so can we end the first part?
All right, sure. Yes. So that was a very good question. I think it's going to be a nice segue to part 2. Stay tuned, guys. See you in the next one. Peace.